You've probably heard this idea a million times. To save our forests, we just need to make our farms more efficient. It seems so logical, right? But what if that's not the whole story? What if it's actually wrong? We're going to dig into some fascinating new research out of Indonesia that totally flips this idea on its head.
So let's just start with a question that sounds completely backwards. What if all our efforts to make farming better, to get more food from every acre, was actually pushing farmers to clear more trees, not fewer? It sounds crazy, I know, but stick with me because that's the exact paradox we're going to unpack today.
Okay, so first things first, let's talk about the big idea that has been driving agricultural policy for decades. It's this concept called land sparing. And the logic behind it feels absolutely rock solid. If we can just grow more on the land we're already using, then we won't need to chop down forests for new farmland. Simple.
Now, you might hear this called the Borlaug hypothesis, and it was really the great hope of the Green Revolution. The thinking was that innovation in farming wasn't just about feeding a growing world, it was also one of our best shots at protecting what's left of the natural one. And on the surface, it just makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
But here's the thing. To see if a big idea like that actually works, you have to see what's happening in the real world. And that brings us to our case study. We're talking about small-scale oil palm farmers in Sumatra, Indonesia. This is a super important place, both for the global economy and for the planet's biodiversity.
You see, these small farms are the real engine of the palm oil industry there. But there's a catch. They just aren't as productive as the big corporate farms. There's this huge gap between what they are growing and what they could be growing. And that gap, well, that looks like a massive opportunity.
All right, let's put some numbers on this. Right now, on average, these small farms are getting about 14 tons of palm fruit from a hectare of land. A hectare is roughly the size of a soccer field. So 14 tons. Just lock that number in your head for a second.
Now, what's the potential? With better farming techniques, that exact same piece of land could be producing up to 40 tons of fruit. Yeah, you heard that right, 40. That is a gigantic difference. So what we're looking at here is a shortfall of about 40% from what's actually possible. Closing that gap seems like a total no-brainer, a complete win-win. Farmers make way more money, and we get to save a ton of land from being cleared. But, and this is a big but, this is exactly where the story takes a sharp turn.
It turns out there's this really powerful economic force lurking in the background. And it's an idea that was first figured out way back in the 1800s, in the age of coal and steam engines.
This guy, an economist named William Stanley Jevons, noticed something really weird. As steam engines got better and more efficient at burning coal, the country didn't start using less coal. Nope, it started using way more. Why? Well, because more efficient engines made steam power cheaper, which meant people found all sorts of new ways to use it, and overall demand just exploded.
And that right there is a perfect illustration of what we now call the rebound effect. When making something more efficient also makes it cheaper or more profitable to use, whether we're talking about fuel or in this case land, our human instinct is often to just use more of it, not less.
So this is the heart of the conflict. On one side, you have that beautiful promise of land sparing. More efficiency means we need less land. But on the other side, you have this economic paradox. More efficiency means more profit, which creates a huge incentive to grab more land. They're pulling in completely opposite directions. So the big question is, which one wins?
Now, the really cool thing about this study is that the researchers didn't just talk about this in theory, they actually went out and measured it. They put a number on just how much of those potential land savings were being eaten up by this rebound effect.
And the number they found is, well, it's pretty shocking. The rebound effect was approximately 50%. Just let that sink in for a moment. Half. Fully half of the forest you could potentially save by making these farms better is lost, simply because those improvements make it so much more tempting for farmers to expand their operations.
This really puts it into perspective. For every 2 acres of forest you think you're saving by helping a farmer boost their yield, 1 of those acres is still likely to be cleared anyway. That new profitability just creates too much pressure. This is the efficiency paradox in the wild, and it is powerful.
So what does this all mean? Should we just give up on making farms better? No, not at all. What it really means is that efficiency is only half of the puzzle. By itself, it's not enough. To actually save forests, we need to be a whole lot smarter.
The real solution here is a 1-2 punch. First, Yes, you absolutely keep pushing to boost efficiency, help farmers get every last bit of value from the land they already have. But, and this is the part we can't afford to forget, at the exact same time, you have to bring in strong, well-enforced policies that basically build a wall around the forests and say no further.
And what do those policies actually look like? Well, the study gets pretty specific. You need things like real functioning land markets, so land gets bought and sold instead of just cleared. You need to give farmers clear, formal, legal titles to their land so they have security. And maybe most important of all, you have to draw hard lines around primary forests and other critical areas and actually, truly protect them.
So, we come all the way back to that first question. Is making farms more efficient enough to save our forests? And the answer this research gives us is pretty clear, and maybe a little humbling. It's no. Not on its own. Our technology and our cleverness are not silver bullets. They're powerful tools for sure, but without smart rules and strong governance to steer them, they can actually drive us faster in the wrong direction. The real paradox is that our own ingenuity, the very thing we hope will save nature, could end up being what harms it most if we don't have the wisdom to build some guardrails first.